Hey guys, I'm Dan, and welcome to Think or Swim Tips and Tricks. Today, we are going to be setting up an active trader window for day trading purposes. Now, the active trader is something you can use for just regular swing trading as well, but for our purposes today, we are going to be setting this up with the intent of utilizing this for day trading, either short, long day trade holds or scalping. Either of these are going to work. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into it. So when we first open up our Thinkorswim platform, we're going to be faced with our regular charts, right? Now I'm using the on-demand feature today, so that way we have live information that is happening in the background, which is going to make setting this up make a little bit more sense as we're going through it. First things first, we're going to come right on up here to where our grid window button is. We're going to move just to the right of that. From our action menu, we are going to detach. Now, when we detach, this gives us a window that is completely separate from our main view and setup that we can freely edit and not mess with any of our settings that we have going on in there. From here, we're going to take this grid and we're going to make it a 4-celled grid. After that, I want you to come right back up to this window, this grid window, and you're going to go ahead and make sure that Show Sidebar in Cells is turned on. This is a feature we're going to turn off later, but we want it on for now because it makes it a whole lot easier to set your grid up while it's on. After that, we're going to make sure that the SPY is punched into each of these windows. So that way little default charts should actually pop up on each of these. And of course, the first one's going to be a copy of your main screen window. Make sure that all of your windows are unlinked. That's going to be your link button. And next, we are going to turn the active trader on from our little sidebar window. We're going to turn the chart off. We're going to come over to the right side, turn the active trader on, turn the chart off. Down here, we're going to keep the chart on for this. This is going to allow us to see the option as it's being charted out that we're actively or active trading with our active trader window. This next one is optional, but I also like to have this set up. I'll actually turn the times and sales window on for my options, so that way I can also see the size and lots that are coming in as everything's being charted. Now, from here, I want you to make sure that each of your windows are linked up to a specific color. So for the top, I'm going to go ahead and pick brown. And then for the subsequent chart, I'm going to make sure that that's linked up. So top left, we've got brown. Bottom left, we also have brown. That means anything I send to brown will be represented in this active trader window and in this chart setup. Same thing goes for over here, but we're going to pick a different color. Lilac and lilac. Now you're going to see in just a second why we did it that way. We're going to go ahead and minimize this window now, and we're going to move on over to our trade chart so that way we can see and view our option chain. Now right now we are looking at 0 DTE options on October 13th, 2021. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead to this position right here. We're going to right click it. We're going to go down, see that same chain link symbol, send this option, which is a call option, to brown. Then we're going to come on over here and we are going to send this put option to lilac. Now that we've done that, we can go back to our active trader window and we can see that things have changed a little bit. Our active trader window is now showing us the option chain. Well, not the chain itself, but that specific option. You can see up here in the window, that's where it is. The puts, the calls. Then you can see that our chart is also going to represent the puts and the calls, respectively. We are going to go ahead and we are going to make sure that these are set to factory defaults. It's just going to make it easier to edit everything. So each of these we're going to go ahead, not that button, style button, reset to factory default. Okay, so now we're working with the defaults. It's going to make it easier to get everything going on. We're going to make our time frame today 1 minute. Time frame today 1 minute. Now we are going to edit our studies and tweak them just a little bit. So let's go ahead with our studies. We're going to leave the open interest study on, which is what's being represented in the volume bar down here. But we're going to go ahead and turn theoretical option price off. Now, any studies you put on these charts is going to be completely optional to how you trade. Personally, I do like to have the adaptive EMA on my option charts. I'll use the 10, and I will also use the 20. So the reason being that I do that is that this allows us to kind of see when the option is trending in one direction versus the other. It isn't really going to give you super actionable information beyond the fact that if you've ever traded using moving averages, the options will behave similar to the way your regular bar chart is going to work on the securities. So your moving averages are going to give you similar information. But what we're really using them for is to kind of measure strength of movement in the option that we're looking at. So after we've done that, we've got our studies edited here. We're going to go ahead and go to our cogwheel. We're going to go over to our, from general settings, we should start right in there. We're going to overlap our volume. By overlapping our volume, this is going to make it a little bit easier to save on space. We're also going to go to appearance, and you can change any of these to whatever your little heart desires for how you prefer your setup to look. Me personally, this is the one I like, and this is the way it's going to look for me. After that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to shorten our times and sales window because we really don't need it to be that big. All we really need is our time, our price, and our size. Our time is going to be a little bit useless to us because all we're really going to see is just the date. You would see the actual time of which the options are coming if you weren't in the on-demand feature. But as long as you have it set to go from the most recent to the least recent, it should keep everything moving the way you want to see it. So we now have our style situated. We have our chart kind of set up the way we want. We've got our moving averages. We've got our open interest showing us where open interest is on the option as it's moving forward. We're going to go ahead and we're going to save this style. We're going to call it our AT options chart. We're going to include patterns and study set. And now that we've saved that, we can come on over here to this chart and we can actually load that study. So that's going to just make it a little bit easier. We only have to edit one of them, right? All right, guys. We're getting pretty darn close to being done here with our active trading window. It's really not super complicated. There's just a few steps that you got to run through. So the next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that our active trader window is actually situated with the buttons that we will be using. So first and foremost, make sure that you've got your quantity buttons in. This is going to make it a whole lot easier to move in and out of the position sizing that you're looking for. As well, on your bottom rung, you're going to have things like your template and your auto send. But we're going to go ahead and edit that. So we have our first line, which is our buy market, sell market, cancel, reverse, and flatten. We're going to go ahead and get rid of the reverse button. We don't want to be accidentally reversing options while we're day trading. If you are in the position where you want to move from buying a call to selling a call, that is what you would utilize your reverse button for, but that's not what we're doing today. Cancel is a good button to have because instead of individually canceling each order, you can simply just click the cancel button and any open orders that haven't been executed yet will just be wiped clean from your slate. Our flatten button, very important button. The flatten button is going to allow you to execute out of the market. All positions, all orders, anything that is open will be closed. Meaning if you have an open position, your flatten button is going to go ahead and it's going to sell it at market. And if you have any open orders, it's going to go ahead and cancel those orders. Our second line, we want our quantity with buttons. We want our order template selector, our auto send on and off, and our order template editor. And that's going to look just like that. Unfortunately, not a lot to edit here. We're going to go ahead and just remove that reverse button from this side as well. Now, if you want to mess around and kind of tweak with some of the information that your Active Trader window shows you, you can absolutely come over here to your 3-bar button and you can customize it same way we did with the top bar, and you can add in, take out, whatever you want. That's up to you. I like the simplicity of the way it looks. As you're going through this, you'll also see volume bars, which is going to be represented similar to the way your open interest bars are. They'll just kind of build out over here on the side. You'll be able to see where you have open orders on the buy side, where you have open orders on the sell side, and you can simply just click to sell and click to buy. Now, one thing that I want to kind of show you is that if you try to buy above mark, you're going to end up issuing an auto-sent stop order, which means it's going to buy once the mark hits that level. Same thing if you're trying to sell out of a position, or if you're trying to set up a stop loss. If you try to sell below the mark, or you set up a sell below the mark, you're going to issue a sell stop. Now you'll notice as we get closer to the mark, that stop turns to limit, right? And that's going to happen on both sides. Got limit, limit, stop, limit, limit, stop. All right. So from here, we've got these things situated. What we want now is we want to make sure that our buttons are representative to what our trading style is, what our risk level is, how much capital are we using. So to do that, we're going to be minimizing this window, and we're actually going to go to our main screen where our setup is. We're going to go into our application settings, and from there we're going to move to our order defaults. We're going to go to options. Right here, the default quantity of orders. If we adjust this button up or down, it's going to actually change how big our subsequent buttons are. All right. I like to play in lots of less than 10, so I really don't need any buttons outside of that. So that's why I keep mine there. All right, so we've got our buttons, we've got our active trader windows set up, we've got our chart set up so we can see everything moving as the day progresses. So here's what we're going to do next. We're going to learn how to actually make a complex order. First, I want to show you when you buy into a position how you can utilize the active trader. So right now we're sitting at our mark right at about 217. We're going to go ahead and try to execute in and see if we can get a buy. Might have to wait a second. Oh, looks like it's running away from us. All right, so I'm just trying to show you. So we're going to go ahead and try a buy market. There we go. So now we have been executed in. Now what you can see is this gray bar and these two arrows now signal and show us what our position holding is. We have one call option at 2.25. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up a limit sell ready to execute as soon as the market moves to 2.35. It's a 10% or a 10-cent move. Now you can see as soon as I put that on, it actually put the order right into the chart so I can see it building up. Let's say I want to set up a stop loss or a mechanical stop loss to execute me out. What I'm going to go ahead and do is we're going to move down to 205 and we're going to set sell one stop. So when you're doing this in real trading hours, it's probably going to prompt you and say, hey, if you input this order, you're going to create an OCO bracket order, or one cancels the other. Now, because we're in on demand, it just let me click and add and set it up. But as you can see now on our chart, we have a stop and we have a limit sell. So if the market moves down to 205, this will execute me out and it'll stop my losses. If the market moves up to our 235, it's going to sell that option that I had purchased for that price. All right. Well, let's go ahead and flatten out of that position. Oh, that's right. So we're in on demand. Some of these features aren't going to work exactly right. Flatten did not actually sell our position, believe it or not. So we're just going to sell it at market level. Again, it's on demand. This is paper money. It doesn't really matter. This is just for educational purposes. So That's how we issue bracket orders if we're just playing with a single template. If we were to turn the auto send button off, if we go to click, you're going to see a very familiar window pop up, one that lets you edit orders. Now, if you turn the auto send off, and let's say you already had an order in, you don't actually. We're gonna go ahead and get back in so we can show you. All right. So we just bought back in. We've got an option being held for 2.11. We're going to turn the auto send off, and we're going to go ahead and edit a complex order. So I just went to the sell side and I clicked the sell. I'm now going to edit this, and I'm going to turn it into, apparently I can't set trail stops in on demand, but if I was in my actual broker actual account, I could change this to a trail stop or really any kind of order. I can set it to issue a market order, limit, the choice is yours, realistically. So let's say, for sake of argument, we'd bought into a position and it had run up, 30 cents. Well, we could issue a sell with making sure auto send is off. We can go ahead and edit that, and then we would turn our limit into a trail stop. And then we can set, once we have a trail stop going, what how much to trail it by. So let's say we had set that order. Now, as the market moves up, our trail stop is actually going to move with it. And if the market comes back down and it hits that level, then it'll end up stopping us out. So for complex bracket orders, we're going to change our template from single to trigger with bracket. Now, when we go to issue a trigger with bracket order, the first thing that I want you to notice is when I highlight a buy order on my call side, you can see that to the bottom and to the top of the active trader window, you have trigger plus $1, trigger minus $1. So if I was to change this from $1 to, let's say, 20 cents, geez, apparently having some trouble typing. And we'll change the bottom one also to 20 cents. If I were to issue an order now from where the market triggers me, that's still saying $1 down. There we go. So now, if I were to enter into the market, I would get a stop order that's automatically set 20 cents below the trigger point, and I would get a limit sell set 20 cents above the trigger point as well. So let's see if we can actually buy into a position and just kind of watch this. Okay, so as soon as I executed in, right, we set up our limit and our stop almost immediately. I didn't have to do anything after that because it was a bracket order, right? So we've got our limit already set and we've got our stop loss already set. Didn't have to do anything beyond that. But now, as you'll know, we automatically reverted back to our single. If we want to make it so we don't automatically revert back to what our default is, we want to go to Application Settings, Active Trader, and then we want to set this. So Reset AT Order Template after sending. I like to have my reset on just because most of my trades are done from the single grid. If you don't want to do things from whatever your default is, you can turn that off, so that way whatever bracket or whatever template you're using will stay on. So we're almost done here. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to save bracket orders once we've created them. So we're going to go back to our trigger with bracket. We're going to turn this again into 20, not a 200 cent, 20 cent. 20 cent. So now we've got the template set that we created, and we're going to go ahead and go here to the Save Custom Order Template. We're going to name this the 20 cent scalp. Boom. Now, anytime I want to issue that specific one, I go to my templates, and look, it's right there. Open up the 20 cent scalp. So we'll go back to single just so I can show you. We're going to exit out of all of our positions. There we go. Geez, a little bit weird. So now I can just sit my 20-cent scalp and look at that. Everything's already set. We've got it's situated, goes right to here, right to here. Now the other cool thing is we can also issue these to be trail stops as well. So you can play around with your brackets and kind of do whatever you want with those. The last thing that I want you to do after you've set all of this up, you're going to come right up here to your grid window and you are going to save grid as active trader. I'm going to name mine example because I already have an active trader window. So now you'll be able to quick load this anytime you want. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was educational for you. If you'd like to learn more, please don't hesitate to join our Discord and ask any of our teachers any questions your little heart desires. We are always willing to help, always willing to assist. We love people. We love the markets. I will also be providing my personal setup in the form of a share link. So if you don't want to go through the process of setting this all up by yourself, which I actually highly recommend you do because it's a learning experience, you can simply just copy screen the link in the description. All right, guys, that's it for me. Have a good one.